Good evening, Danvers, and welcome to the Select Board meeting of June 21. It's great to see a full house tonight. Thank you very much all for coming. Tonight, Selectman Trask is on video or Zooming or whatever it is he's doing, but because of that, we'll be taking all our votes by roll call vote, okay? So thank you. So can we have an approval of the minutes of June 7th, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
And thank you. The full house threw me off. Maureen, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
At this time, if there's anybody with new public business that's not on the agenda, is now the time to raise your hand. I see Mr. Bradstreet in the back. Please.
Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. In the electric bill I got this month was a notice on what's happening in town. One of the things that caught my eye was the Chapter 90 funds for paving projects. There's a number of them listed in here. My question is, does the state tell us who we can hire to do the paving, or do we have the luxury of hiring a local contractor to do the work, so the business is kept local?
I'll defer to the town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have to follow Chapter 30B, which is the state procurement law. So the funding that we receive is independent from the rules we have to follow in terms of the purchasing. So local contractors are certainly welcome to bid on those jobs, but we do have to comply with Chapter 30B in terms of competitive bidding and the like.
So as long as they know they can be competitive, they're in the mix?
Correct.
Thank you. I hope they do.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else with new public business? Hearing none, we'll go right to number 3. The board will hear from participants in a Student Citizens Academy at the Holton Richmond Middle School. Is Jen going to lead this, Mr. Town Manager?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Assistant Town Manager Jen Breaker is going to walk us through the work that's been done and the very exciting agenda item that we have tonight.
Welcome, Jen.
Thank you. We're excited to be here tonight. Earlier this year, after the success of our second annual Citizens Academy, we were encouraged to expand the program. And with the support of the school administration, we took the Citizens Academy to the 8th grade students and created a version of a Students Academy. We met with the 8th grade Civics team who are here tonight and are outstanding. And we were able to work with each of their classes. Over the month of May, a number of town staff went to the middle school, spent the day with the students. On May 3rd, the town manager discussed local government, how it works, how we function, how it works across the country, how it works in Danvers, and he answered some very important questions. What are his cat's names? Where does he get his shoes? And why did he shave his beard? I think we covered that pretty well. He also answered some questions about how the select board works, how the school committee works, and how our government functions here in town. Then on May 12th, the students got to meet with the finance director and members of his team to do a budgeting exercise, which I'm sure was a highlight of the program. And then on May 23rd, team members from the land use division, Aaron Henry, Dave Mountain, Nick Campion, Chris Sanborn, Dave Mountain, I think I covered them all. Myself and the town manager met with the students to talk in smaller groups about their passion projects, what they were interested in seeing done in Danvers, how they wanted to make a change, what impact they were looking to have. The students had some really great ideas. It was very exciting to chat with them about their goals and aspirations for Danvers, and we were able to provide them with some next steps, who to talk to, what permits to file, what committees to talk with, what business owners to reach out to. And then we spent the past couple weeks going back and forth over email and chatting with the students some more and the teachers about different projects. And the projects, you'll hear about some of them tonight. So we're joined by some of the students who will present projects. We have 3 different groups with us tonight. The students will present their ideas and their projects. One group is looking specifically for a vote of the select board. The other ones are just information. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to the students who are going to share the project for the later start time for secondary students. We'll just ask whoever's presenting, you can come right up and you can introduce yourself, and I'm going to get you the clicker for your presentation.
Hello, I'm Claudia Dracos.
I'm Angie Louise Joko.
And
Welcome.
Hi. Our class decided to research benefits of a later start time for the middle and high schools. I don't know how to- Oh, I did it. Okay, so in Danvers, the elementary schools start at 8:30 and end at 2:30, while the middle and high schools start at 7:30 and end at 2. The problem is nearly 60% of middle schoolers do not get the recommended 8 to 10 hours of sleep every night. And for high school students, the number is 70%. The reason we aren't getting enough sleep is because our brains are wired to stay up late and wake up late. And with the early start time, it's hard to do that. The amount of sleep we get affects us entirely both in school and out. But if our school start time were to be pushed back, there are numerous benefits waiting.
So for the attendance rates, pushing back the school start time would improve attendance rates tremendously. A new study by Pamela McKeemer of Central Connecticut State University and her colleague Linda Clark found that delaying the high school start time to 8:30 a.m. and later significantly improving the graduation rates and the attendance rates as well. And the average graduation rate jumped from 79% to 88% by delaying the school start time, and the average attendance rate went from 90 to 94 when delaying the school start time.
This also affected the academics because students who were getting more than 6 hours of sleep had grade averages that were 4.5% higher than students who were getting less than 6 hours. And a new study in Minnesota documents what happened to 18,000 students in grades 5 through 11 after 4 school districts postponed the school start time 20 to 65 minutes. Student grades did in fact increase, raising students' grade point averages by an extra 0.1%. And this graph helps to illustrate that.
This is affecting the student's mental health. With every hour of sleep, there is a 28% decrease in students who say they are depressed or unhappy. Researchers found that for each hour of loss of sleep, there are 38% increase in feelings of sad or hopeless, and 58% increase in teen suicide attempts. And many studies have shown that the average teen in the United States is chronically sleep deprived. The National Sleep Foundation found that almost 60% of the 6th through 8th graders and almost 90% of high school students in the United States for less than the recommended getting less than the recommended 8.5 hours to 9 hours of sleep on school nights is shown.
In conclusion, we would like a later start time of 8:30 or something like that. Having a later start time will not only benefit us, but benefit you as well in the schools. We hope you consider. Thank you for your time.
Next, we'll invite the school lunch group up.
Hello, my name is Dayla Martinez.
And my name's Nick Cerullo.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. So our Civics Action Project is based on school lunches. The main goal of the project is to make an improvement on the food and items that were being offered. We're not only trying to improve the quality, but also incorporate more options for students and teachers at our school. How we chose school lunch. We decided to choose a topic that would not just improve for our class, but that would improve for our overall school environment. And taking action. We first talk about what improvements could be made. We then contacted the Director of Food Services, Emily Cook. She thought that it would be more informative to come to our class and make a presentation to show us the information that we needed to succeed. At the end of her presentation, we talked about improvements that would be beneficial to our school. We presented her with some questions that we thought would be essential to improving the outcome of our project, like who decides the menu, why and how do they pick the foods that they do, and what did the COVID restrictions affect, and many more.
What we learned during research and during Emily Cook's presentation, we learned about ongoing lists of requirements that the food provided must meet. We learned that in grades 6 to 8, the minimum amount of calories that the school lunch should have is 600 calories, and the maximum amount are 700 calories on average for 5 days a week, and snacks have to be 200 calories or less. Also, even though our current lunch is free, typically the school will have to make a meal that is under $3, so the school has the leftover profits, or the leftover profits that are made are used for things like paying for kitchen staff and maintenance. The outcome? By issuing our concerns to Emily Cook, she has decided to incorporate a salad bar in the middle school's cafeteria next year.
And that's it. Thank you.
Next, we want to do the home economics group.
So if you're going to do the block party, allow me to read the agenda for the folks at home, because we just heard from the Citizens Academy group, but the item 4 is the board will consider requests by Holton Richmond Middle School students to hold a block party on Maple Street from CVS to Danvers Hardware on Wednesday, July 27, 2022, from 5 to 8 p.m. And please introduce yourself.
Hi. Hi, I'm Casey Ackerman.
I'm Gianna Figueredo.
And I'm Josie Vogel.
Welcome.
Okay. Table of contents. Number 1, purpose and education, or execution.
Number 2, details when and where.
Number 3, entertainment and vendors.
And number 4, fundraising and profits.
The what? A downtown block party with food trucks, music, games, activities, and local businesses. We have been in contact with many people from different departments in order to see if this is possible, and we have gotten many responses, such as from the police department, fire department, safety department, and recreation department. Why? Family Fun Festival, Oldies Night, where do they all go? When we first wanted to organize a block party, our main goal was to unify Danvers after everything we've been through, from feelings of a divided town to the pandemic. We want to bring back pride in our town.
Benefits of a block party. Once we started researching the project a little bit more, we realized that there are many other valuable aspects that contribute to the benefits of having a block party. For example, it would promote local businesses because we'd be selling their food and goods, and we'd also be giving students community service hours if they come and volunteer. We would also be supporting Robb Elementary School by donating some of our proceeds to them. And it also promotes family-friendly atmosphere, and it would unify the town and thus create a sense of pride. The school connection. Although we're hoping this to become a town-run event, there are definite connections to Danvers Public Schools. Mr. Federico said that DHS students could use this event for community service credit, so we're hoping to have students help volunteer at the event. Schools could help promote this event by giving out flyers and getting local businesses to hang them up. Additionally, we spoke with Ms. Wormers, and she mentioned that she could send out a town-wide email promoting the event. And then we'd also have musical performances by Danvers Public Schools / alumni. So this is our flyer that we made. To details.
We would love to see a downtown block party on Maple Street, ideally this summer. Our idea was to have the same routing as the Christmas tree celebration. We were thinking July 27th, as it's right in the middle of summer and all of the willing participants from our class would be able to help long term. We would love for the town, specifically the recreation department and or a special committee to assist us in running this event. Entertainment and vendors. Activities. Some games that we would have at this block party would be cornhole, giant connect four, and others. Some activities we'd have balloon artist, local artist, face painting. All the artists could be high schoolers and or middle schoolers, and they can acquire some community service hours. Music. During the block party, we were hoping to incorporate local musicians to perform. Jazz bands, a cappella groups at the high school and middle school, such as Falcon Eyes, Skywave, Hawks and Harmony. No, we also have been working and emailing with music and band teachers to make sure that this is something that can happen. Food. Once we get the approval for this block party, we are going to start contacting local businesses downtown to see if they are willing to be a part of our local block party. Some of the local businesses could even set up a stand to sell their products. Additionally, we were thinking of bringing in some food trucks and other vendors. We would make sure that the food trucks wouldn't be competitors with other local businesses because that would defeat the purpose of the block party.
Fundraising and profits. So we have two ways that we're thinking of fundraising. One of them would be by getting sponsors from local businesses downtown and throughout Danvers, such as Danvers Rotary, because we know that they've donated to things like this in the past. And another way is by having a suggested donation price of $5. We briefly spoke with Miss Crum, and she mentioned that she could set it up for like the donation website for us, because we're hoping to do something similar to the fundraiser that the sixth graders did at Holt and Richmond Middle School, which was the South Sudan project. And then our profits. In the beginning, all of the money that we received would go to funding the event so that we can actually host it. But once we start making more proceeds from it, we are thinking of splitting it up into 3 different parts. 50% of it will go to funding for next year because we're hoping to make this a tradition. 25% of it will go to Robb Elementary School, and 25% of it will go back to HRMS for event scholarships. So our website is still a work in progress, and it basically just includes everything that we went over in the presentation.
If you click on like website demo, then it will bring it to you.
Or maybe not.
I think this is a gen error, not a student. But I don't know if we're going to be able to get to it.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay.
So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Dan, may I ask a question?
You may.
Ladies, could you tell me what is the Robb Elementary School?
Do you want me to do it? Sure. The Robb Elementary School is a school in Texas that there was a school shooting at, and they're raising money to help, like, build a memorial and whatnot.
Great, thank you.
We have additional routing plans and our proposal, our application request that we could bring up.
You may want to stay there for, the board will have to ask some questions because you're asking us to consider this. I have a lot of quick questions, health department, logistics, supervision, how you're going to collect the money, so forth. But I'm going to defer, if I may, to Selectman Trask. He has a lot of experience with the Oldies Night downtown as a former family festival member. Gordon, would you want to start off maybe with some guidance or some questions?
Certainly, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm encouraged by this, by the presentations. All three of the presentations, by the way, were fantastic. Very encouraged, and glad to see students looking to help bring back some of the festivities that we had in town. Danvers Family Festival, it's often asked, where's Danvers Family Festival? We did go on hiatus when COVID hit, and every year we get together to talk about what we're going to do in the following year. Just to let people know, it's usually, because of the number of events we have, not just one, it takes about a year of planning and logistics and working on getting sponsors and so on and so forth to get all of our events together. Isolating just this one event can happen much quicker, and I'm very pleased that the students have brought this up. I would like to suggest that after this, the students or representative contact me, and I'll put them in touch with our current chairperson, Cheryl James, and we can see what we can do to answer some logistics. But I will presume by the information I have in my packet that you've contacted the police. They'll work with the DPW. The rec department will guide you in blocking off the streets, providing any staging you may need, things of that nature. Food trucks, a very interesting concept. And in the past, Danvers Family Festival actually charged for food vendors to come in. We took the same care that you are now doing to make sure that they are not competing with businesses downtown. You wouldn't bring in a pizza food truck, for example. So I'm very heartened by the fact that you thought about that and put thought into this. You'll want to work again with the police, the fire, DPW to block off the square with enough time to set up. When we did block parties in the past, Oldies Night down there, we generally got that little area right in front of CVS and Santander Bank, blocked that off much earlier, set up the staging, and then worked with the police and DPW for sawhorses and blocking off each end of the street. I think there's some great ideas here. I highly encourage you to pursue this, and I'm happy to give you more devil in the detail information if you'd like to contact me afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gardner.
Thank you.
Maureen, any questions, thoughts?
I think it's a great idea for the kids. I like everything. I even like the late start date for the students too. But with the block party, just making sure, like you were saying, Mr. Chairman, check with the health department. I like Gardner's suggestion. I do like the food trucks. There's a really good food truck named Roxy that does grilled cheese, and but not to have like the same, we don't want to take business away from our business owners down there. And if you check with the police and the fire, and I think it sounds like a great event for the kids. I'm all for it.
Thank you. Matt?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was a former board member of the Danvers Family Festival, managed the Oldies Night event for a couple of years, so there's quite a bit of work that's involved and cost as well. For example, you have to hire a police detail of 2 to 3 officers, porta toilets, there's advertising costs, and so the way that we funded that event was we collected gift certificates for a number of generous businesses in the area, not just Danvers, but close by. And that's how we kind of funded the event, and actually it was actually a profit generator. There's quite a bit of work involved. One of the things that we did was we had businesses set up tables. You may recall, if you've attended the event, businesses would contribute a small fee, and we'd allow them to set up a table to promote themselves, like, for example, banks. And then we had Mrs. Hot Dog on one end of, in the square under the lights sideways blocking the street, and then we had the fried dough up at Cherry. So that's an important aspect for safety, is to kind of block off the road physically with vehicles, so you don't have any, anyone driving into the crowd, because that's a valid concern these days. But there is quite a bit of work, and I think if you have a team of adults, I'm sure that they can kind of guide you in the right way. But it's great that you're willing to bring that back to life, so to speak, because the Oldies Night event was a great way for the community to kind of join together, especially small children loved hanging out. It was just a great event for the residents to kind of meet and mingle. Then just a brief comment about the late start with the schools. I think the reason schools start early is because of the after-school activities, the extracurricular activities. For example, you have band, you have sports, and so I think that's one reason why school starts early. So if you pushed it to later in the day, then you were going to have, I think, sports practice kind of running into the evening almost, and dinner time, and then that may affect being able to complete their homework. So probably that aspect or that initiative needs to be kind of fleshed out a little bit more. But that's all I have. So, but kudos to you for showing the initiative. It's good to see young people kind of stepping up and being involved, rather than just, kind of just sitting on the sideline. So congrats to you. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Matt. David?
Thank you, Dan. I'm really impressed because I went to Richmond from 54 to 56, and I loved it. It was just called Richmond Junior High at that point. And it's so nice to be with you tonight. Presentation I thought was superb. I think that you might want to, for the block party, try to get Mr. Trask and Mr. Duggan to be on your senior committee, because they have a lot of influence and a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience in doing it. They might, if you don't mind, a couple adults kind of hanging around. As far as the recommendations concerning the school, I think that you're going to probably need to take them, perhaps to take them to the school department, because the Board of Select Board doesn't really have much authority. We can't tell the school committee what to do or what to do with the school program. So I suspect the school committee will be delighted to hear from you. And I also, because I'm an old lawyer, I fear that there are some state laws and collective bargaining agreements with teachers that have to do with the hours of the school day. So that may be a little bit of a hurdle. So don't get discouraged if you run into that, because everything can always be worked out. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you, David. So first of all, thank you for all three presentations. Well presented, well thought out. As David said, Ms. Mills said, you need to present to the school committee to implement any of those changes. But I would ask you, has the school committee signed off on your block party idea?
So far, we have sign-offs from just police, fire, recreation, and property owner.
'Cause my thought is, as students, you're more or less under the purview of the school committee, as the teachers are as well, for guidance on procedures, or actually policies. So if they haven't signed off on it, I don't know that we can endorse it without their knowledge. But certainly, if you feel that you can prepare an event in such a short time, and you have this backing of the police, the fire, and they can set up safely, close down the square, that's the first thing, is safety. Not only for you, but for anybody trying to get through town. So I think hopefully you can put together a plan well prepared to implement this project that you want to undertake. I think it's a great idea. Yes?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes?
if I might, our next meeting is not until August, and this event is supposed to happen before that. I would recommend, suggest that we provide a approval for this with the approval of the town administration, being the town manager, Board of Health, and others, so that and I'm happy to work with the town manager. I'm happy to work with the Board of Health and this committee and the school committee, because you're correct. There may be some insurance issues that we can delve into and look at. Danvers Family Festival had its own private insurance, but I don't want to get into too much of the minutia. But where we don't have a meeting, I would recommend tacit approval with the approval of the town administration, including the town manager.
So as I was saying, there's quite a few things to be worked out. And if you can work them out, then we are in favor of this. I would believe from hearing from the comments. But the town manager needs to be involved, even though this is not a town-sponsored event. Steve, do you have any comments?
I'd like to thank the students, first of all. I also was very impressed seeing the outcomes of the discussions that we had this spring. It was really, I was very blown away at the level of thoughtful detail that went into these. When we were talking about pushing back school start time, the students very quickly identified all of the stakeholders who would be impacted. We had thoughtful conversations about the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, the impact on teachers and siblings, and it was really interesting. Without much, we had a deep dive into the form of government, but they did a great job of identifying stakeholders and obstacles and things of that nature. The two topics that I was able to spend my day talking about with the groups were the school lunch program, which I found very interesting and informative. I see one of my, I won't get into any of the details. Those were confidential conversations in the middle school meeting room, but really impressed with the thoughtfulness and the approach. And I certainly would be willing to, I know that staff were also energized by the conversations that they had. A lot of people have asked us as well about the downtown events, and that's kind of been a missing link. As Select Board Member Trask mentioned, COVID really did kind of throw a wrench in a lot of the things that people really enjoyed. So certainly staff is prepared to assist as they can with this event. And with the support of the board, certainly we would direct resources this summer to try to make something like this come off successfully.
Any other comments from fellow board members? Thoughts?
So are we just going to,
For the block party right now, or?
On the block party, yeah.
so we're just going to give sort of a tentative approval until we have something more concrete?
Well, we're not going to be able to come back and approve anything. I think what we're doing is asking the town manager and staff to work with the school and the students to put this together. If they can put it together in a safe manner, that's fine.
Yeah, safety is the key, right? So we'll have a large number of people in the road, so it's imperative that, as I mentioned, the detail police officers will be on site. It's just, I think the students, the challenge for the students is just to kind of make it a robust event, so they don't get discouraged if things don't really play out as expected, that they're not discouraged from trying again in the future. I think
And we want to watch, make sure, which they know, be careful, no alcohol at all, because you don't want to ruin it. That one person can ruin it for the next event. So we really want to make sure that you kids spread the word, everybody on good behavior, so you can do it again.
As Select Board Member Trask said, it took Family Festival a year to plan out their events, but this is one event. Can you do it in 45 days or so? Hopefully you can. So we look forward to a great block party on the 27th, if that's, everybody's in agreement?
So are there kind of adults that are going to be kind of mentoring them for this, or are they just kind of, on their own. like-
Chaperones.
Yeah, chaperones or
Right.
people that maybe already have the experience that can help out. I know Selectman Trask mentioned contacting the chair of the family festival.
I hope they ask you and Mr. Trask to be mentors, whatever.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, I mean,
Of course it
especially
is,
in.
that's why I'm offering you.
All right, yeah, I'd be
see-
happy to help.
Yeah, and we see some parents in the room here too, which I'm looking at a few of them right now for some chaperones. You know, we could show up too and walk around.
We also have the support of Mr. Campion. He came in and made sure that, he was bringing up the topic of like what happens when school's over. And, he was saying that he'd always make a conference room available in the town hall if we ever needed to come down. And I think we had a couple of students in our class say that they would come down and help and make sure like that we were on track to getting this project done on time.
Gardner, quick question. Oldies Night, did they close down from CVS to Danvers Hardware, or did they stop at schools?
They went from Cherry Street to the intersection of Elm and Maple.
All right, so Cherry Street, rather than Danvers Hardware, is what I recommend for the road closure. Can you make note of that, Mr.
Yes,
Bauer?
so
I think that's a good.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I realize audio is funny remotely, but it was the inside of Cherry Street closest to the flagpole island. It allowed for traffic to turn left,
Right.
emergency traffic to turn left off of Cherry Street.
I'm just not in favor of closing it down to Danvers Hardware. So that's the
Understand.
stipulation. Any other stipulations from the board?
No, I think that's a good one.
Mr. Manager, do we need a vote on this?
Yes, we do.
We do. So we'll take a roll call
Mr.
vote. Yes?
I don't know if a motion had been made, but I would, had one been made?
We haven't gotten that far yet. I'll be there in a minute. I just want to make sure
Okay.
everybody understands. So we do need a motion.
So I'll make
Mr.
that.
Chairman, I move we accept the request of this committee, working with the town manager, and defer approval to the town management for this event.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Gardner Trask,
Yes?
David Mills,
Yes,
Matt,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
and Dan, yes. Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation, your
Thank you.
time
Thank
tonight. So I understand we have one more presentation. I thought you saved the best for last.
We did.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Mia Zimmerman.
Hi, my name's Gigi Barrows.
Hi, my name's Olivia St. Pierre. Hi, my name is Kaylee Allen.
Welcome.
Our civics action project was researching home economics and why it was taken away and like the possibility of bringing it back to Holton Richmond.
So what is home economics? Home economics is cooking, sewing, and other basic skills that are beneficial in household management and other scenarios. In home economics, you can learn skills like finances, cooking, and basic safety skills.
Why do we need home economics? The Danvers Public Schools would benefit from a home economics class because students would learn basic skills that will help prepare them for later in their life. If we had a home economics class, we could prepare students from grades 6 to 8 about life skills that may not always be taught at home or in schools. The 5 W's are who. Adding this home economics class would be affecting the students in their day-to-day lives. What, we need to add a home economics class to our curriculum. Where, at the Holton Richmond Middle School. When, we wanted to add home ec for the class of 2030 and on, and why, in order to better prepare students for situations that they might face in the future.
So the curriculum of home economics would be, so this is what the curriculum would look like. So for grade 6,
the first week would be intro to first aid, and then week 2 would be basics of performing the Heimlich maneuver, and then week 3 would be the CPR. So that would be like basic safety skills for grade 6. And then grade 7 would be intro to sewing, basics of sewing and tools, and then the fundamentals of cooking. So those are more like household management skills for 7th graders. And then in 8th grade, we would like to do more like a financing thing. So the week 1 would be intro to financing, week 2 would be intro to budgeting, and then week 3 would be advanced payment skills and checks.
So going into more depths about this curriculum, first we have the basic safety for 6th grade, and because we would be doing because we'll be doing basic safety for 6th grade, the first week we would be like first aid classes, and so the 4 skills that need to be taught during this curriculum would be how to handle bug bites and stings, also like how to stop bleeding, how to check for concussions, and also recognizing signs of a stroke. The week 2 of this curriculum would be like the Heimlich maneuver, and the 3 steps that would be taught would be 5 back blows, 5 abdominal thrusts, alternate and repeat between these 2 actions. Week 3 of this curriculum of basic safety would be the CPR. So the 5 steps to giving CPR will be taught during this part of the curriculum. First, see if the person is responded. Next, call 911, place the person on their backs, give 30 chest compressions, and give 2 breaks in between.
For 7th grade, the basic skills under cooking and sewing, for week 1, it would be intro to sewing. There would be a total of 3 skills needed to be taught during this particular part of the curriculum. One of those is getting familiar with the tools that are going to be used to sew. Number 2 would have to be importance of knowing how to thread a needle and tie a knot. And lastly, how to sew clothes with different patterns and grooves. Week 2 would be basics of sewing, and there's also 3 steps or skills needed to be taught during that part of the curriculum, of how to style certain fabric and cut to certain lengths, how to use the sewing machine while cutting fabrics, how to adjust and personalize fabrics. Week 3 would be intro to cooking, and another total of 3 skills would need to be taught for how to cook needs to be taught during this curriculum. How to cut and slice different foods in a safe manner, how to mix certain ingredients in an orderly way, and how to cook and use things on the stove the right and safe way.
For the 8th graders, the week 1 would be handling money, so how to handle money, how to save money, and have a saving account, and how to be responsible and use your money wisely. Week 2 would be intro to budgeting, so how to have a plan for your bills and payments, how to keep track of the money you have and are in debt of, and how to spend money with different amounts of it. Week 3, intro to financing, how to consume money and how to have a steady currency, how to invest in certain skills or topics that are finance. Can you move the thing on the bottom? How to learn the business of paying others. How to learn the business of paying others money in equal pay.
So you probably are still have some questions about what we are going to be doing with the curriculum.
And then one of them is probably where would we be putting this class. And so our D-Block class has come up with the thought of putting home ec in different classrooms around the school. So our class was thinking about taking away a computer class and using that room for an extra space. We agreed that we already have a lot of computer classes and all know how to use a computer pretty well. So replacing one of the computer classes for more space wouldn't hurt. And if we use a computer ed classroom, we could keep the computers and use them to teach different parts of the curriculum. And then we also had thought about using a space for learning basic safety, and we would like to use CAF C for that. We think that would be a beneficial area because CAF C is spacious and it is not always being utilized. And then finally, we were thinking about putting these classes in one of the teachers' rooms, so specifically the cooking part of the class, because throughout the school there are 3 different teachers' rooms, and our class believes that the space, there's different cooking appliances in those spaces, and we could use the stove or the microwave to teach home ec in those spaces.
Another big question of ours was who would teach these classes, and because there wouldn't be enough teachers if they no one volunteered for these classes. And so in order to teach a full course of home economics, you need to be certified in family consumer science. We understand that going back to school to get recertified is not only expensive but also time consuming. So we figured that we can ask teachers to teach different parts of this curriculum because they don't need to be fully certified to do so.
Another question that you might have is how would this impact our budget on the school? Adding these home economics classes would impact our school's budget. There are certain things that we need to add, like appliances and different supplies. However, we do know that the computer ed teacher is retiring, and because of that, we are thinking of getting rid of the computer ed class. We could not just replace the teacher. This is called
We're unsure of what it's called. Yeah,
nutrition. And could save some money. We could also set up fundraisers to help pay for the equipment.
So in conclusion, our D block class thinks it would be very important to add a beneficial and useful class like home economics. These classes would engage students in their learning upon certain topics they might face in their home life, and will open up students' minds beyond the classroom. So for example, skills that they'll need in the real world. Students rely a lot on technology, so teaching students the basics is what we think will make students more aware and on their toes. Adding this curriculum would change students' lives for the better and will make a really big impact on the lives that uphold the future.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that presentation,
Thank you.
and I hope that you can follow through somehow to the school committee. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Arthur or Jim?
I saw the interim superintendent nodding along in the doorway with this presentation, so I think that you guys have some momentum already. And the students are well aware that the school committee has the authority to say yes to some of these things. They also, through their research, learned that the director of nutrition for the schools has some authority to approve some of these. So they certainly did their homework, and a lot of great ideas. There were more ideas discussed than were presented tonight, and some of the departments that were involved were taking notes as well. And we just loved the energy and the ideas. So we're really excited when the team of teachers asked to do this. Jen put a lot of work into coordinating it. It was certainly it was wonderful to participate in, and we're hoping, much like the block party, that this becomes a tradition, working with the 8th graders on these types of projects. So I want to thank you guys as well for being here tonight.
Thank you. And good luck in the future. On your way. Okay, that concludes this part of the program.
This is where the chair should say you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if you want to get up and go, you won't insult anybody or offend anybody if you decide to do that.
Thank you.
Number 6, right?
No, number 5.
No, number 5? Oh, yeah. Can't say, you got this class.
Okay, item number 5, the board will consider a request by Travis Reardon to hold a block party on Barber Road, restricting car traffic from Burley Farm Road to Burley Street on Saturday, September 10, 2022, from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much. I just realized that I should have done a PowerPoint presentation.
So introduce
I don't
yourself
have
to
a
the folks
screen.
at home.
I drew the short straw, so here I am. So we're looking to bring back we used to do.
Travis, introduce yourself for the folks
sorry.
at home.
Travis Reardon, 9 Barber Road resident. So we're looking to bring back the block party on Barber Road. They used to have an annual tradition where we would block down the road from Burley Farm all the way to Burley Street and invite all the neighbors on the road. I don't think we've done it since maybe 2014, 2015. It's been some time. So we're looking to bring that back into the neighborhood to get the neighbors back out and enjoy each other's company again. So it was we used to have bouncy houses. The neighbors would all come out. The road we blocked down. Gotten permission from the DPW, fire, police, to close down the road, and then once the event's over, one of us will call dispatch, make sure that the road is open back up to allow for emergency vehicles to come back through.
Clerk, is there an application?
I do
for
have an
this?
application.
Everything look in order?
It does, other than bouncy houses on town property or on private property?
Bouncy houses will be on private.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, Maureen?
No questions?
Matt?
Amplified music, bands, PA systems, that type of thing? Do you plan?
Yeah, we'll probably have it won't be anything like a band or a DJ playing. It'll be more like a household speaker system, which would probably be closed down 7, 8 o'clock too.
Okay. And it says everything will be shut down by 8 p.m.?
Right.
Okay. And then just, I mentioned earlier with the downtown, closing the downtown, it's, I don't know if the police or the fire would support this, but putting a vehicle sideways on both ends of the street just to prevent people, someone driving down the street. The participants are going to feel safer, I think, knowing that the road is physically closed, rather than just using cones or even a sawhorse isn't always totally effective.
Agreed.
So, sounds like a great event. Good for you to kind of bring this back and getting all the neighbors outside and hanging out with each other. It's always a good thing. So
Thank you,
I wish
Mr.
you
Beck.
success.
Thank you.
So, Matt, putting a vehicle sideways on the street would restrict the fire or police if they had to get down there quickly. I would not make that
Just
a
a thought.
recommendation.
Just a thought.
Sawhorses, cones should be adequate.
All right.
David?
Thank you, Dan. I'm just interested to know how many private driveways would be restricted by this block party, and have those neighbors been notified of this request, so that, they may say, that's a great thing, let's do it, or how dare you block my driveway for 8 or 9 hours on a Saturday in September. It wouldn't bother me. Well, I do have, like, on Memorial Day, and I live across the street, and my driveway is blocked for a period of time, but it's only for an hour. But blocking somebody's access in and out, I just wonder, how many driveways, do you know, Travis, would be impacted?
I want to say there's probably close to 20 residents on the street. It could be plus or minus a few.
I think
Yeah.
the clerk says 16.
16? Okay.
Yeah, and I'm just, would seem to me sensible in support of this application is to do a survey of those property owners to ask them whether they have any objection to this. I mean, I'm going to go whatever the board feels comfortable with, I'm going to support. But I would support postpone, because when are we going to have our next? I think that you should survey the owners just to make sure that there's not somebody that's going to come screaming to the police or to us if their driveway is blocked for the day.
That's the great thing about email. So we did send out an email to all the residents on the neighborhood, and they are all for.
You did, so you did emails to each and every of the 16 driveways, and they're all in favor. Well,
Correct.
that kind of satisfies my concern.
Gardner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand the last one you had was 2014, and I'm glad to hear that it is the ban, Holy Rybicki, that stopped it in 2014, so I have no other questions.
Thank you. What's the will of the board?
Make a motion to approve the application as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, Gardner?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Dan, yes. Good luck, Travis.
Thank you very much.
Hope
Appreciate
the
it.
weather is good in September.
Thank you.
The board will vote to accept a gift from the Willis E. Thorpe School PAC in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A. Mr. Town Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have representatives from the PAC with us tonight, and just as a quick, as well as Recreation Director David Mountain. You may recall back in September when we put forth the ARPA plan for the town. One of the objectives that was covered in there, working with Recreation, was to try to catch up on some of our playground replacement, which had fallen behind. We had a $220,000 playground that was approved as part of that plan. David has been working with the PAC to finalize the details of that, and there are two changes in the number that we're looking at. One had to do with inflation, which I think at this point everybody is familiar with. So the town will be recommending slightly more from the ARPA funds to cover some of the inflation that has occurred since then. And then working with the PAC, Mr. Mountain identified some features to the playground that the parents representing the school would like to see incorporated, and the PAC has committed to covering the cost of some of those pieces. So with that, I would turn it over to the team assembled in the back to describe in greater detail.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Melissa D'Amelio, 210 Maple Street, and with me is Kristen April, Sheffield Road, correct? And of course, David Mountain. I'm also representing the PAC as the incoming treasurer. It's been our pleasure to partner with the town, in particular with David and Rita Ward, school principal at Thorpe. We've been working together since March to essentially design a playground that we feel meets the needs of the entire school community. There's 338 students at the Thorpe School. Of course, our children attend, and the Thorpe School is the only school, elementary school in Danvers that has a dedicated program for students on the autism spectrum. So we realize that the Thorpe School community's composition has changed over the years, and that we want to make sure that the playground equipment meets all of their needs and is inclusive. So I did share some emails with Jen, and she can share those with you, or sorry, images of the renderings. But by now, I hope that many of you have seen them already.
Let me check in and see, we can pull that up if the board would like to see the images. Okay.
Just some they're images and they're fun. So the total needed for the playground project is $275,545, of which the town has proposed to allocate $242,000, and the Thorpe PAC has committed to donate $33,545 towards the project, all of which has already been raised and is in our reserves. And we're delighted to do that. So we have certainly experienced a groundswell of support from the Thorpe parent community, who have thrust themselves wholeheartedly behind this project in recognition that the playground is old and certainly in deteriorating condition and no longer meets the needs nor the size of the Thorpe community. David, did you have anything to add? Thoughts you want to?
Thank you, Melissa. David Mountain, Recreation Director. I just want to say what a pleasure it's been working with the group at Thorpe School and the principal, Rita Ward. I know they've worked a lot harder on this than I have, but through our team approach, we've come up with a really good concept. It's basically the same footprint, a little larger, plus an additional section that will have some swings. There are some unique components to this structure. It will be engineered wood chip surface with border timbers, but some of the components here are exactly what the committee wanted and thought was best for the needs of the community and the school. So this is going to be an exciting project. Our goal is, once we place this order, little supply chain issues, we're looking at an October installation, We were hoping to get this done prior to school, but things take a little while in delivery these days. And then once we have that installed, we are also Rita has been in contact with the Lawler family. The playground that we have right now was dedicated to Brian Lawler, a young boy who passed away a few years ago, and the family raised the funds and dedicated and put that playground in. This will replace that, but there will also be that recognition of Brian and his family for that playground as well. So we are very sensitive to that, and Rita has been in contact with the family, and we are making sure the right things are being done. So thank you very much. Hope we get your support tonight, and this has been a great project and another example of how we work together with the community. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Questions, David?
No, thank you, Dan. Beautiful presentation, and, well, and it's a wonderful thing to have happen in the town. Nice job.
Thank you.
Gardner?
No, I'm excited by the project, and thank you very much for pitching in.
Maureen?
I think it looks good. Are there more swings, did you say?
There are, I'm not sure if they were included in the email, but there is a separate section actually to the side of the school, if you're familiar with where
Yes.
the fields are. They'll be directly adjacent to the side of the schools, that they're away from the current footprint, so that children who are swinging are safely away from other children who are running and playing. We all went to a playground when kids have gotten dangerously close to children going quite fast on swings, fast and high, and so we've decided to separate them out.
Over there, okay. Yeah, no, that's good, because I go down there with my grandchildren sometimes, and
Yeah.
there's lack of swings, so that's good. All the kids go after them, they line up.
We
Great.
talked a lot about swings. Swings are
Mm.
one of those things on playgrounds that you love them or hate them, but they're one of the only items that you can install in a playground that are truly inclusive and accessible to all students. Something that a child in a wheelchair can get onto an ADA swing and swing with one of their peers was really important to us. So we're glad that we were able to include that.
Looks great. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt?
That's quite the structure there. It's very impressive. When I was a kid, we just had like a teeter-totter or something like that. So would have loved to have something like that. Just a question on accessibility. So you mentioned autistic children, but what about, is there components that for like physically challenged children? How would they be able to use this equipment? Is it kind of designed to be to have that kind of depth to it?
Sure. There are national standards for ADA compliance for all playgrounds, and this meet and exceeds that as well. It is not totally accessible. Not many playgrounds are, but you can see this would be a transfer station here. There are different components built into it that are accessible. There is a minimum standard. I believe it is 30% of the structure has to be compliant and accessible, and this meets and exceeds
Right.
that.
There's
Okay.
a musical section for children of all abilities that can.
Speak
Yeah,
into the
Mike.
microphone,
Sorry.
please.
There's a musical section for children of all abilities that they can play. So you see that with the drums, the chimes, the bells. They can also swing. So when you're designing a playground, you just want to make sure that all of those things are in balance, that you have plenty of options for children of all abilities to access. There's also, in the top far corner, there's what are called Whirlwind Twirl seats. So there is a child who could, conceivably transfer from a wheelchair into a Whirlwind Twirl and participate with that, or engage with that
All right.
piece of equipment. And I think I also just want to mention that it's Dave's relationship with this company that he's built through his experience and time with the town that was able to help us get this impressive piece of equipment at a steep discount. So we were able to incorporate that into the design because of the timing of this project, but also just from his knowledge of other projects. So we're appreciative of that.
Okay, so just a kind of a follow-up. So on the upper left corner there, is that a ramp that if a person was in a wheelchair, they'd be able to get into that play area? Because I see there's like a kind of a wall around the entire thing.
If I could, this is a raised, we're building this at grade, so this will not be built up. That wall will be, this will be.
That's
in the
just a
ground.
rendering,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is just a rendering, correct. And there is built into this an accessible ramp on the side.
Okay.
But it is built at grade.
Yeah, Because that would be sad to have a child or even any person in a wheelchair be excluded into that area, and they would just be kind of watching from afar. That would be kind of not a good approach, I think. And then just one last thing. During the school day, it would be, I think, just for the Thorpe students, but after hours, like in the early evening or on weekends, children from other schools or even from other towns would be welcome to use the equipment?
Generally speaking, during the school day and at times during the after-school program, the playground is dedicated to
Sure.
the
Yeah,
school
I understand
users.
that. Okay.
After school, weekends, nights, dawn to dusk typically is the standard we have in town and on non-school days that people use playgrounds.
Okay,
Correct.
that's good. That's
If-
good
and
to
if
hear.
they can't go here, we have plenty of parks, and Endicott
Yeah, I
Park
know.
is
Yep.
open all the time.
Yep. Okay, that's good to know. That's good for the public to know, too, that they're welcome to use this equipment. I know at Plains Park, they have some nice new equipment there up at Putnamville Playground. They're kind of like, almost like destinations. When you have small children, you want to get them out of the house, you kind of you take them to these areas and just like set them free, so. Kudos to the PAC at the Thorpe School for, coming up with the resource and helping the town kind of pull this off, so congratulations to you. It's a lot of extra work, but it, at the end, pays off in this respect. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. What's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, to accept a gift from the Willis E. Thorpe School PAC in accordance with MGL Chapter 44, Section 53A.
Is there a second?
Second?
We'll take a roll call vote. Maureen?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dan, yes. Congratulations. Thank you very much for all your efforts, and look forward to seeing this in October.
Thank you for
Thank you.
prioritizing
Thank
the
you.
need of the playground. Thank you.
Thank you.
The public hearing will be held under Chapter 138 of the General Laws on the application of Bellicata, Inc., DBA iPazi, for change of location of an all-alcoholic common viculars license from 50 Maple Street to 51 High Street, and change of manager from Orjaya Taka to Ibana Bella. And I had to read that twice at home because it said 50 and 51. I said, they're not right next
It's
to each other.
confusing. Hi, I'm Bob Allison. I'm an attorney, and I'm representing Bleeded Conti, Inc., DBA iPazi Restaurant. Is seeking approval of the relocation of the liquor license to 51 High Street. In addition to that, they're seeking approval of a new appointment of a manager and a pledge of the liquor license to Salem 5. Attorney McGann submitted a complete application package. However, she's out of the country, and she asked me to stand in her place.
The
With me
application in order?
It is.
Thank you. Continue.
Thank you. With me tonight is Bana Bleda. She's the proposed new manager of iPazi. And with respect to iPazi, it's a fine Italian restaurant that's been located at 50 Maple Street since 2009. It's earned an excellent reputation for providing a great experience when you dine there. And it's not had a single alcohol problem or issue during that time frame. When the property at 51 High Street became available, Mr. Bleda, who's the president and executive chef of the restaurant, jumped at the opportunity. It's a freestanding building, and it's a little bit larger than what they have right now. In addition to that, it has parking on site for both the staff and for patrons that go there. Now, insofar as the request for the relocation of the alcohol license, the new location will have 60 indoor dining seats and 12 outdoor dining seats on a deck. The deck will be enclosed by railing, planters, and also gated entries. The alcohol beverage license will apply to both areas. There was a floor plan submitted with the application. The hours of operation will be 4 to 10 p.m. 7 days a week, and the interior renovations will include a new commercial kitchen. In addition to that, a new restaurant and bar seating areas. The total square footage will be 4,165 square feet. The building code indicates that 118 capacity of indoor, and that's more than sufficient to accommodate the staff and the patrons. In addition to that, a retail gelato service is also proposed, but there'll be no alcohol served in that area, and that'll be just an area where you could pick it up. You can't sit there and have the gelato. The Apazi restaurant is simply moving down the street. You know, they're going to have the same corporate structure, and everything's going to be the same. In fact, all their equipment is going to be moved from that area all the way down to there, and they're going to continue to operate in the same manner that they have in the past, only they have a much better area to work from than they do now. We're also requesting an approval of the appointment of a new manager of record, and that would be Abana Bleda. She has worked at the restaurant since 2009, and she's virtually been the manager since that time frame. She's very familiar with the Danvers liquor license guidelines and regulations, and she's there every single night with her husband working at the restaurant, so you couldn't get a better person to fill that position. And we're also requesting finally the approval of the pledge of the liquor license. Salem 5 is providing the financing for the purchase of the building and also for the remodeling. And this is just a normal function of financing that we're asking for. It's my understanding all the paperwork is in order, and then finally, I would just suggest that Mr. Blader and his team are very excited about this move, and they're going to continue to provide excellent service to the Danvers community. Any questions?
Thank you. Matt, questions?
Oh, yes. So the exterior of the building will be modified in any way, changing the windows or any kind of additions added or anything?
No,
like
other
that?
than the deck that they're going to have outside, that's the extent of any, there won't be anything to the actual structure of the building itself, but there'll be a deck installed, and like I said, that will be enclosed.
Okay. Is the deck on this, this plan, this
It i-
first floor plan?
It is.
Okay. And the outside deck, that will be for dining?
That'll be for dining, same as the interior.
Yeah, okay, it's hard for me to see it, yeah. And it looks like maybe a dozen seats out there, maybe?
That's correct.
Okay. What about any outdoor music, any kind of like PA systems or any type of amplification?
No, nothing of that nature.
Okay. It's important to know because where they're located today, it's not really residential at the moment, but Gould Street, there's a number of homes there that are directly across the street from this building, so it's important that we don't, you know, it was a Friendly's, I believe, for a while, and the last number of years it's been, I think, People's Bank and then East Boston Savings Bank has it, so it's kind of more of a 9 to 5 usage, not really into the evening, so. What about signage? Is there any
I'm not too
discussion?
sure about the signage. I think that they're going to have a sign out there.
There is a freestanding sign, I think, in the parking lot, so that you'll retain that?
Yes.
Because that's probably grandfathered in.
Right.
Okay, well, it's great. I like the use. I like bringing activity down to that part of High Street, and with the new zoning overlay that goes to the highway, I think we'll see more restaurants and this type of activity, which is, I think, the goal of town meeting, to see first floor kind of commercial activity with residential above it. So sounds like a good plan. I wish you success.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you. David?
Thank you, Dan. Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
This is the old Friendly's building.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Great to see it go back for food. I just always thought it was a great place for food service with convenient parking and all that. And so I think it's best of luck, and it sounds like a wonderful location and a great plan.
Thank you.
Gardner?
Yes. I'm looking at the application that we received, the abbreviated application we received in our packet. I see that the manager of record will be on site 40+ hours, which is one of my normal questions. I see the tip certification, which is a normal question. I do have a question about the outdoor seating. It's difficult to see by the plans. I see that you have planters surrounding that, but will that prevent people from going in or out of the outdoor seating area? I can't tell if those are contiguous or not.
Well, there's a railing that's going to go around the perimeter, and there's two gated things to go in and out of, so that will be enclosed to that extent.
Perfect, thank you. I am I am very, very supportive of this. However, I believe that part of the motion is to approve the pledge of the license to Salem Bank. Our liquor license regulations don't allow for the select board to do that. Under section 17, other business responsibilities, item, I'm trying to find it now, item D, no license issued under these regulations may be pledged by the holder to a third party. So I would actually look to ask through you, Mr. Chair, to the town clerk, if that's an appropriate part of the application or a motion.
Thank you for bringing that up, Gardner. That was my question as well about the pledging to Salem 5, so we do need some clarification from that, either from the town clerk or the town manager.
The ABCC does allow for a pledge of collateral to a bank. It has been done in the past.
Mr. Chairman, again, I fully support this application, and I would consider that as we have the latitude written right into the regulation for us to forego sections, I would recommend we forego that section and reevaluate its appropriateness in our liquor license guidelines at some future point.
Thank you. Are you all set?
And thank you.
Maureen?
I think it's a terrific restaurant. I think it's a great move for you to move down the street, the old Friendly's building. I worked out of that when it was Danvers Bank at one time. I love to see the businesses stay here in town and grow, and I love the parking, that you'll have a lot of parking there. So I wish you luck.
This is a public hearing. Anyone in the public? Hearing none? For a motion to close the public hearing, please?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote. Gardner?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Dan? Thank you. What is the will of the board?
Move to approve the application as presented.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call. Gardner?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And Dan as well. Congratulations. Thank you. Maybe now I can get a seat in the restaurant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
I love that. Of course, you're too young, but that was a wonderful Friendly's restaurant.
A public hearing will be held under Chapter 138 of the General Laws in the application of Costco Atlantic Liquors, Inc., DBA Costco Liquors, 11 Newberry Street, Gregory Centilano, manager for a change of officers, directors of an all-alcoholic retail license at that location. Somebody here to speak to that?
Hi, my name's Sarah Wilbraham. I'm representing Costco Atlantic Liquors.
Welcome.
Thank you. So this is, I filed an application requesting approval of a change of officer with respect to this location at 11 Newberry. This change is not at the operational level. It is Costco Atlantic is wholly owned by Costco Wholesale Corporation. Costco Atlantic is the company that operates all their liquor sales in Massachusetts. It's the company with the change of it's a change of president. This was filed with the Secretary of State on February 1st, 2022. There's no changes with at the parent company, and like I said, no changes at the operational level.
Thank you. Questions, Maureen?
No questions.
Gardner?
I apologize. No questions. Thank you.
David?
Nothing, thank you, Dan.
All set? Matt?
No.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone in the public? May I have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
So moved.
Second.
And we'll take a roll call vote. Matt?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Dan, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the will of the board?
I move to approve the application as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Maureen?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Dan, yes. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The board will consider an application for a one-day wine and malt beverage license by Tom Bishop for a wedding rehearsal welcome event at Endicott Park on Friday, August 26, 2022, from 5 to 8 p.m. Somebody here to speak to that?
Hi, my name is Lauren Welburn. I'm here to speak on behalf of Tom Bishop.
Welcome.
Thank you. So they are looking to have their engagement party or the rehearsal dinner party at Endicott Park in the pavilion and are looking for the permitting for the liquor license from 5 to 8
In
p.m.
order?
Yes, it is.
It's okay. Any questions, Matt?
No, all set.
David?
No, thank you.
Gardner?
No, thank you.
Maureen?
No.
I have none either. We wish them good luck. What's the will of the board?
Move to close.
Second.
This is this is not a public hearing, just a motion to approve or not.
Motion to approve the
Second.
one-day wine and malt beverage licensed by Tom Bishop for the wedding rehearsal at Endicott Park on Friday, August 26, 2022, from 5 to 8 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any comments, questions? Hearing none. Matt?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
And Dan, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck. The board will consider an application for a one-day wine and malt beverage license by Jean Marie Haggerty for a pre-wedding celebration at Endicott Park on Saturday, July 2nd, 2022, from 3 to 18.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ana Tuleras, and I'm on behalf of Jean Marie Haggerty. She lives in Pennsylvania, so she wasn't able to attend the meeting. But she would like to get the permission to celebrate the pre-wedding for my daughter, Maria Corrales, and her son, John Haggerty. She reserved the Endicott Park, the picnic area, and they have reserved between 3 and 8 p.m. However, the guests are expected at 4 p.m. and be leaving by 7:30 p.m. on July 2nd. So we will have enough time to leave the area clean. And it will be also, it's going to be served wine and melts, and it's going to be a sign that no alcohol will be allowed beyond the point. And the food is going to be served by a restaurant, a Peabody restaurant called the Next Mex thing, and they will also provide the certified bartender.
Thank you. Is the application in order?
It is.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a very good presentation. Questions, Maureen?
No questions?
Matt?
No.
David?
No, thank you.
Gardner?
No, thank you.
All right, and I'm all set all right myself. What's the will of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Gardner?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Dan? Thank you. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Oh, we get another one. The board will consider an application for a one-day wine and malt beverage license by Tara Anderson for a wedding welcome dinner event at Endicott Park on Saturday, August 6, 2022, from 4 to 6 p.m. Is somebody here to speak to this?
Is that you? Are you?
Let's see. Well, it's not listed here, I'm sorry.
No worries at all.
Introduce yourself, please.
Yes, of course. My name is Eric Auerbach. I'm here on behalf of Tapped Beer Truck, who's the vendor who's been hired by our client. I'm the head of business development. We have been hired to be in the park. The hours, I apologize, were 4 to 8. We'll be pouring beer only, which they will have purchased beforehand. They will have wristbands that they will be providing for all of their wedding guests, as well as the area where the truck will be is going to be roped off as well.
So is it 4 to 8?
That is correct.
Okay, we have to correct it.
Yes,
What do we have in the application?
The application says 4 to 6.
Yes, my apologies. And then food will be brought by Trace Latina's food truck as well.
So the clerk, you all right if we change it to 8?
I am.
Okay. Questions from members of the board? Matt?
All set, thank you.
David?
Thank you, Eric. How many people are expected?
Yes, so they're expecting a max of 60. They currently have 50 confirmed, and it'll be max of 60.
Thank you. Nothing further, Dan.
Gardner?
All set, thank you.
Maureen?
All set.
What's the will of the board?
So moved?
Well, we gotta.
Oh, we
read
gotta
out
say it,
from
okay,
4 to
I'll
8.
do it. From four, we will approve a one-day wine and malt beverage licensed by Tara Anderson for a wedding welcome dinner at Endicott Park on Saturday, August 6, 2022, from 4 to 8 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, Gardner?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Dan? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
presentation.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Number 12, a public hearing will be held on the application of Breakaway Inc., DBA Breakaway, Joseph Crowley, manager, 221 Newbury Street, for permission to hold 12 outdoor concerts, 3 to 8 p.m. on June 26, July 10, July 17, July 24, July 31, August 7th, August 14th, August 21, August 28th, September 4th, September 11th, and September 18th. Is the application in order? I know we just got some information late.
I think we just got 10, he wants 10 now, drop down to 10. Drop in the 26th and July 10th.
Okay,
10 events instead of 12.
so we're scratching 26 and,
June and July 10th we're scratching.
okay, thank you for pointing out. So we did just get this information late. Mr. Crowley, do you want to explain what it is you want to do?
Yes, I'm Joe Crowley, owner of Breakaway. I do have kind of a blueprint of the area. Can I approach and give these out so you can? get
Well, I'm wondering if that's what we got earlier, Mr. Henry? We have them already, thank you.
Great. So my crew approached me, the bands approached me. They wanted to do, I know during COVID, you were gracious to give us the outdoor activity. We were doing the full weekends. It was more of a survival mode. During that time period, we worked under a lot of restrictions, crowd control restrictions, mask distancing. The way we could serve, it was very difficult, and we made it work. We stopped doing that in late September. Last year, when we reopened, we were closed for about 8 months. We had to reopen that way for a short period before we were allowed to go back inside. We're looking for just a Sunday afternoon. It's not going to be the full 3 to 8. A lot of nights will be 3 to 6. There'll be a 3-hour window, but it will never go beyond 8 o'clock. We're not looking for full weekends. We just want to do a Sunday show. A lot of our crew members, our bartenders, our waitresses, even this year when Omicron hit in December, January, February, it really put us back again. We lost 3 months' worth of shows and a lot of functions one more time. The last 3 months have been great. Business has been excellent. We're approaching the summer season that normally slows down a little bit. We're just looking to put a little life back into that, give the employees a Sunday afternoon to earn. And we're hoping that the board can see fit to do that.
Is the application in order that you have?
I don't technically have an application. I have a floor plan that was provided. The fire department wanted a more detailed, drawn to scale diagram that I don't know that the fire department has reviewed at this time.
So the plan will be the same as we used before, that was approved by the fire department. That's on the sketch here with the, we'll blockade out the side along the building that goes towards the sportsplex. That's the same plan that they approved for us last time. I know they did do a drive-through, I think about a week and a half ago. They came through, made some recommendations, and we'll work with them however that is. We'll get the barriers in place. We're not going until, we're not applying until mid-July. Out of those 10 dates, we're hoping that the weather doesn't, restrict us even more, which is, we could end up being half of that. But we're willing to invest in the blockades, in the investment that it's going to take to get back outside, just to see if we can bring some life at summer and early fall out there on a Sunday afternoon.
Thank you. Questions, Gardner?
Yes, sorry I couldn't be there. I should have mentioned earlier, I had a close contact with COVID, and for health reasons, I decided not to come. Mr. Crowley was very successful in working with the town, Mr. Henry, and the police and fire department and DPW during COVID, and I would recommend that we approve these dates based on his past success. He is on the highway, as you know. Sound will carry, but with the closest neighbors being up on Kirkbride area, I would recommend that we go ahead and allow this. It ends at 8. He never had an issue where his music went past the hours that were committed to last time. And there were never, as I recall, any incidents for the outside events that he had. And I think it's just another way that we can support businesses that were adversely affected by COVID. I would fully support this. Thank you.
Thank you. David?
Thank you, Dan. Now, Joe, I'm concerned that there's comments from our planning director on fire department concerns and also state of emergency. I want you to have this. I trust Gardner, but I also want to be very attentive to what the fire department has a concern about passage at some location. I don't know if it's okay to ask Aaron to explain the substance of his communication to us concerning this application. Dan, is that okay?
If Aaron wants to make comment, I'd be happy to hear it.
Again, I apologize for the late memo, but I think the caveat that I understood from the fire department was that in the diagram, you have the Jersey barriers kind of delineating the area for the concert area. They want to be able to get an apparatus along that Jersey barrier, and they just wanted to make sure that the cars aren't nosing in right to the Jersey barriers so that they can get an apparatus in if they needed to be up against it. From the drawings we have, it looks like we have that access, but we'll obviously, if the board so chooses to approve, we'll work with Mr. Crowley and fire to make sure that that access way is there.
Okay, and did you also, Aaron, you had a concern about the governor's state of emergency and flexibility on permitting, et cetera?
I think as we've gone through this and working with Mr. Crowley, I think one thing is we've kind of still thinking we're in the COVID state of emergency situation, and that gave the municipalities of the Commonwealth a great deal of flexibility when it came to permitting and waiving certain requirements. Those are gone now, and so part of our review of this application was to make sure that the parking was right. As you can see on the drawings, it's quite a bit of area that would be lost for parking. I have my reservations, but Mr. Crowley has reached out to an abutting property owner, the Sportsplex, which is one property south, which is closed at the hours that he's referring to and requesting. Mr. Crowley's claiming that for every spot he's taking offline, he's picking one up at the Sportsplex. I have that in writing from the owner of the Sportsplex. Like I said, I still have some reservations about the parking situation, but if the board so chooses, we will make sure that this is done safely and appropriately for public safety.
While you're there, I would just, my sense is that I really wish that we could approve this with conditions that satisfy the fire department and your concerns about adequate parking. So that's, how can we do that?
We can make that part of the motion.
Okay.
Without any problem. And just as to the state of emergency, those have expired. The town manager and staff had the right to give permission for outdoor seating, et cetera, and bans, but that is back now in the purview of the select board. So everything is up to us, David.
You're saying then that we have the authority to?
It is authority.
Okay.
It is. Then the clerk had a question, a comment?
The ABCC on April 1st of 2022 extended the temporary outdoor dining for liquor sales. So we do have the option to extend through April 1st of 2023. After that time, the applicant would need to go for a permanent situation with outdoor service of liquor.
But it's still under the purview of the select board at this time?
Correct.
Thank you. Matt?
If I could get some clarification from Mr. Crowley. So these Jersey barriers, they delineate the space between moving motor vehicles and the patrons that are actually watching the performance?
Yes, you brought that point up earlier. That's a concern in today's society, that someone can come in there and they have to be safe. You'll see we have a 40-inch opening. We have the same door person that will work our nightclub area will be outside. The same security will be outside. The same management will be out there. Those Jersey barriers will protect any vehicles from entering that area.
Okay. And I think I heard Mr. Trask mention that you have got some temporary parking at adjoining properties.
Yes, the sportsplex next door.
Right.
So on Sundays, we will replace the spots that we lose in that area right next door at the sportsplex, which is, we've commonly done things in the past where we've helped each other out.
Right. And I think it's parking on the highway is not permitted, right? There's
Right, not permitted,
signage that
right.
says you can't park on the shoulder of Route 1. I don't think the state police would allow that.
No.
Okay. And then within the area where the patrons will be, are they going to be standing, or are there seats available? How's that going to work?
So what we did last year was people would bring their own chairs out, beach chairs out, and it would be more of a festival environment. It worked out very well. We're going to continue doing that. People will come in, they'll bring, the difference is we don't have to seat them 6-person to a box this time. They can kind of spread out. So we're going to continue what was successful up until late September of that year.
Okay. All right, that's good. I hope it kind of gets you back on your feet, these events. And just one last thing is with the volume of the music. I know you could be kind of over on Holton Street and actually hear it, but I don't think it's for my ear, it's not offensive. It's just you can hear it, but it's not like disruptive in a way. I think part of it has to do with the elevation of your facility. It's kind of up on a hill, and so the sound travels easier in that way. But I think the fact that you're shutting down by 8 o'clock on a Sunday night, that seems reasonable. So
thank
you. I support this application.
Maureen?
That's all I have.
Hi, Joe, how you doing?
Good.
I know that he did this last time, and I think it's great that you want to help your employees. You know, they did lose a lot of wages, and I like the fact of the time. I've driven by it before. When he had it before, it was very well run, and as long as everything's fine with the barriers and safety, and it is a big piece of property. I mean, I know the sports complexes. I brought my son there for batting. That's a lot, so as long as you have an agreement with them, I'm in favor of this.
Thank you.
Mr. Crowley, will you be serving food and drink outside?
Yes, both.
Both?
Yes, both.
Service?
Yep.
or-
We'll have the options that people can come into the restaurant or the patio beforehand, or they can get food outside during the show. We'll allow for both, so there's both be food consumption with the alcohol.
We will need an insurance binder for this, for the town.
Okay. Is that separate than our general liability policy, or just naming what specifically are we looking for on the
Town
insurance?
clerk?
I think the area of liquor service should be included for that expanded area.
Okay.
I think your liquor liability covers the inside where you're serving liquor.
Just expand that out.
Now you've got this outside, you need to have it, a disclosure that says expanded outdoor area.
Okay.
This is like a rider, right, that you would add to the
Yeah, it's a
existing
Yes.
policy.
Yeah.
Typical,
Yeah.
the $1 million liquor liability.
Okay.
This is a public hearing. Anyone in the public? What's the will of the board on the public hearing?
Close the public hearing, motion?
Second,
Discussion? Hearing none, in favor? Maureen?
yes.
We're closing the public hearing. Maureen's yes. Matt?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Dan, yes. So, on the motion, I think we have some concerns that I'd like to have in the motion. One, the sign off from the fire department for the proposed layout before there's any events. The insurance
Mr. Chairman?
binder. And David, you had something else that you wanted to include?
No, I'm no longer worried about that governor's thing, blah-de-blah, because
Right.
you've explained, Dan, that we don't need that. 'Cause I was concerned that the fire department be satisfied with whatever passage there is, and I think you've just handled that.
So
And,
that can be in the motion.
and otherwise, I don't know if the insurance coverage has to be in the motion. I'm not sure.
I think it'd be wise to do so.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to move that we accept the application as presented, or actually as amended with those 2 dates removed, but with the, under the condition that the Town of Danvers Fire Department signs off on the final plans, that the applicant provide appropriate insurance rider, and that the, Aaron is satisfied that the parking loss will be re-represented at the neighboring facility.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second,
Discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call. Maureen?
yes.
Gardner?
Yes?
David?
Yes, thank you.
Matt?
Yes.
Dan? No. Okay. Hopefully it goes well for you.
I appreciate it, thank you.
You're welcome. The board will review and consider adoption of an updated other post-employment benefits, OPEB, OPED, funding policy. Mr. Town Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Director of Administration and Finance, Rodney Conley, is at the microphone. I provided an overview of this at the last meeting, and I would turn it directly over to Rodney to walk the board through what we're trying to accomplish with this.
Rodney, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Through you, Mr. Chairman. I think the manager covered most of it at the last meeting, but just to reiterate, this comes from our financial policy guidelines the board adopted back in 2019. Working with our new actuarial consultant, we realized that this intent that we've already declared publicly, if we were to formalize this in a policy, it'd have a tremendous impact on our current OPEB liability. Essentially, we've already intimated that this is our plan. Now we would just be getting the credit on our liability by enacting this. So the document is the other post-employment benefits funding policy, and then the background on the numbers. Again, that is just, at this point in time, that is reviewed annually as part of our valuation. And again, as we said, this does not bind any future select board. The actual appropriation wouldn't come until 2035 when that appropriation is made as part of the budget and warrant process.
Okay. Questions? David?
No questions, thank you.
Matt?
Just thank Rodney and his team for kind of staying on top of this. It's something that needs to be resolved in the future, kind of bring us in line. I think we're doing better than other towns in the area, so kudos to you for kind of, keeping on top of this. Appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maureen?
So Rodney, we're increasing it by $50,000 every year to be ready, right?
So that's what we currently
That's what
do,
we current-
exactly.
right,
Every year, our
okay.
annual appropriation increases by 50,000. This would be diverting some of our pension investing in 2035 when the pension system is projected to be fully funded,
Right.
diverting those resources to tackle the OPEB liability next.
Okay, No, I think I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
All right, good, thank you. Gardner?
Yes, I want to thank you on page 1 for adding the 3rd paragraph, which was a concern I voiced previously about binding future boards, and I appreciate the language that is now there. Other than that, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay. What's the will of the board?
The board, what's this, to consider adoption of an updated other post-employment benefits fund as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. David?
Yes, please.
Matt?
Yes.
Yes.
Maureen? Gardner?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Thank you, Rodney, for the work on this, and that
It's a lot.
hopefully we'll be in a good place in 2035.
Excellent. Thank you.
Appreciate that. So at this time, board members, we're going to take a 3-minute recess. Thank you. And thinking about this, in order to have next steps, I think we really need to identify what the issues, the problems are. And I made my own short list, and hopefully other members have other things we can add to this list. One, why such a large number of students leaving Holton, Richmond to go elsewheres and not Danvers High School? The cost of the town is immense and how it affects everything else in our budget. At Essex Tech, they have an issue with crowded classrooms.
With what,
There's-
yeah?
Essex Tech has an issue with crowded classrooms, 25 or more students. The teachers are taking on more classes than they've had in the past. The effort of the tech to increase their population is creating a problem for them that perhaps they didn't foresee. They have a problem with their teachers' unions. They're not happy. That's not a good sign. Other items that any members think we should add to the list?
What about what can we do to keep the students here at Danvers High School?
Well, that's
right?
why are they leaving? That's the first thing.
And then, is Essex Tech planning on building more?
They are,
They are,
but that we can't control.
no.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So I realize this is a large issue, but specific to Essex Tech, I think we need to look at the disproportionate acceptance rate, or as I would say, there's no controls on the acceptance rates of our community versus other communities. I think it's disproportionate, and I think it lends itself to the reason that we had a warrant article. They do have a plan to increase, or they're planning increases. They're actually going and trying to seek funding for increases. And if they were to extrapolate what they have been doing lately and that increase without controls, we would be over $8 million in assessments if they were successful in their expansion plans. That's more than the fire department, that's more than the police department, and we have zero control over that. I think we need to be focused on working with Essex Tech to get a reasonable, acceptable acceptance rate that is balanced with our surrounding communities. I think we also need to discuss the fact that the students they are taking, they're cherry picking if you break the tiers of students into 3 tiers, low, medium, high being the high MCAS scores, low being the low MCAS scores, you'll find that it's been projected and should be proven out that they take the very high MCAS scores, they take some of the lowest MCAS scores, do not serve anybody in the middle or a disproportionate amount. I think we need to look at their acceptance policies and rates and the disproportionate acceptance of our students over every other community.
Thank you. They add those to the list. Anybody else have anything to add to the list? No, then we'll turn to the town manager. Your thoughts? Let's take steps. Yes.
Sorry, could I just offer one thought?
Yes.
I had followed carefully the communications between our town manager and the Essex superintendent. I am very connected to Essex Aggie as I was the chairman of the board there 40 years ago and was very proud of that school and what it was doing. In the communications and negotiation between this town, my town, and Essex Aggie over the last year on this issue, I was very, very troubled that I found the Essex Aggie spokespeople to be preying upon division and fear and us versus them rather than focusing in on the dollars and cents of what exactly the impact is on the Danvers taxpayer and our rate and whether or not we are going to be threatened with Proposition 2.5 in this town or doing drastic eliminations of waste pickup or something. I was just troubled. I hang out at the YMCA in the morning for pool exercise with a bunch of my peers. What that means is that we're all old ladies between 70 and 90. And one of them, after the town meeting discussion of the warrant article, accosted me and essentially said, "You people are child molesters. Don't you realize how important education is to these children?" Now, that's exactly what was cultivated in the Essex Aggie attitude toward this supposed negotiation and good faith attention to the problem. They did not focus in on what I believe is the true area we must focus in is dollars and cents. What is fair and what is it costing the Danvers taxpayers and the taxpayers in the other surrounding towns? It was us versus them, and don't you understand, children in this age need everything that they get.
Thank you, David. So can I add misleading communications to the list?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Dan, if we can break down costs, like the children, if children don't decide to go to Danvers High School, they still go somewhere else. We still have to pay, right?
Correct.
So maybe we could have a chart so we can see it better, or people can see that, when Keith was here and he's talked about marketing Danvers High School to keep the students here, what is Danvers doing? What is the Danvers school system doing to prepare, to keep the students here? Like, show us what they're doing. I think we need to see some of that.
True. Matt, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I thought we really flushed this out last spring when we talked about the financial aspect of it, but prior to town meeting, the argument or the presentation kind of morphed into an emotional issue, and people were, residents were upset that their children, if they wanted to, would not be able to apply to the tech. I think we should still pursue the home rule petition aspect of it and be able to, given the financial constraints that we do have with 2.5, we should be able to have some control over the number of students that are sent to the tech and to other schools as well. We'll be having a charter school open up over on Water Street in the near future, and that could draw students away from our elementary schools. And so this is a kind of a broader scope, I think, is in play here.
And part of the problem is the state tells us what size to build our schools for, and then we can't fill them because the state told us to build the high school for X amount, Smith School for X amount, and the students just aren't there right now.
So these buildings will be sort of white elephants, right? They'll be underutilized, and we'll still have fixed costs associated with maintaining and staffing them.
Right, and
So-
that's not something we can
Problem.
solve because they're already built and the money's already borrowed.
Yeah, so we're on the hook for that, and so it's just kind of self-preservation at this point. We want to keep the students, so the argument that, maybe we should do a better job of marketing ourselves, or maybe we don't look at the students as actual customers and try to, tailor the curriculum towards what the expectations are for the students and for their parents.
Well, that's what I said. Why can't we bring some of those curriculums or those shops to the high school? Some of them to keep people there if that's what the students want.
So with regards to that, we need to have some type of plan with next steps and who will be at the table to discuss that. We need the school committee, we need the administration, we need the select board, anyone else that the town manager may suggest. So, Steve, what do you feel our next steps should be?
Thank you. To respond just briefly to a couple of the comments that were made, Dan raised, you mentioned the charter school, and the town of Danvers twice, and this is not a tech-specific issue, but something that we've become acutely aware of in recent years. The town has completed 2 school projects in the last 10 years. We expanded our high school. We just rebuilt our Smith School. The town of Danvers went to the MSBA 6 years ago and said that we wanted to replace the Smith School with a similarly sized school. The MSBA, as the partner in these school projects, recommended to us that we double the size of the school. They did some projections based on birth rates, et cetera, and at their request, because they're a funding partner, we built a school at 80,000 square feet rather than 45,000 square feet. You're mentioning a charter school. The state is approving the creation and construction of new schools. We built that elementary school based on student population growth projected by the state, and the state is at the same time approving the creation and construction of new schools in the same sending area. That makes 0 sense from a macro level in terms of how to allocate limited resources to fund education in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. You could make a similar statement about the Essex Tech's application this March to physically expand its campus. The town was not notified of that application. We just built a high school less than 10 years ago for student population modeling from the state, and the same agency that partnered with us to build our high school is now considering an application to expand another high school in the town of Danvers that will directly impact the population at Danvers High School. During the town meeting discussion, I reached out to colleagues in other communities because this question became a curiosity for me. I don't have the schools right off the top of my head because I wasn't prepared to speak to that tonight, but just across 6 of the 17 member high schools within Essex Tech's footprint, there are more than 2,000 empty seats. That includes Danvers High School, Peabody, Linfield, Marblehead, several other schools. So those schools could absorb 2,000 more students, and the state is now considering investing tens of millions of dollars into expanding a campus within the footprint of those sending districts. Again, that's not an Essex Tech problem. That is a what are we doing problem in terms of how we're allocating hundreds of millions of dollars to build these schools and then making decisions 3 years later that directly undermines the decisions that were already made. With respect to spinning up programming for technical in these high schools, the purpose of the tech was to consolidate those programs under one roof so that the kids who would benefit from them are able to go and use them. And I would argue that redeveloping those programs in the member high schools, now we're duplicating at a much higher cost programs that we thought we were investing in when that school was built. In terms of the questions that were just posed, I would agree with all those. I think as the chair and I were talking about next steps, I do think it makes a lot of sense to have representation from the select board, the school committee, and the finance committee, perhaps 2 representatives from each of those bodies to come together with somewhere between 3 and 5 town meeting members. I would say I would recommend that those 3 to 5 members be identified, that between the town moderator and the chair of the select board could collaborate to identify a list of town meeting members who could participate in that process. Working certainly with the town manager, we would pull in the finance team, pull in the school team, and try to identify the questions that need to be answered so that the town meeting can ultimately make an informed decision at some point about what they believe to be in the best interest of both the town of Danvers and the Essex Tech. Certainly we will try to partner with the school to have that conversation, as we have done multiple times since 2020. But to the comments that were made about some of the information that was swirling around right before the town meeting, including direct appeals to town meeting members from people outside of the community, we want to, the idea I think would be to have a report or some sort of presentation made by this body to the town meeting, which the town meeting can rely on in making its decision. That would be my recommendation, that a group like that be formed. I could call a meeting at some point this summer going into the fall and put these questions on the table. And I think importantly, as the chair said, including talking to the parents of kids who are attending the school or who have applied to the school to try to understand what their motivations were, because I think that will help us in finding a path forward.
So if I may just kind of rephrase your thoughts, Steve. We put together a working committee this summer comprised of X amount of people from X amount of different boards and committees, as you suggest, to sit down, discuss, analyze, and prepare next steps for a future town meeting, perhaps. And I think that's a good idea. And I would suggest that in the next couple of weeks, if anybody on this board is interested in being on that working committee, to reach out to myself or Steve, and we'll go through and start to draw these people together for a meeting starting in the summer so that we can get up to speed by September. Does that make sense, Steve?
I think that makes sense.
Any other comments from anybody?
Sounds like a great plan to me, and I'm sorry that it is so necessary, but it is so necessary.
It is necessary. We can't ignore it. It's going to take a lot of thought process to come up with a solution that makes sense and benefits the students as well. Okay, everybody else all set? Yes, ma'am.
Nova Sam.
Volunteer?
No, thank you. Novus Hamley Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. As a town meeting member, I would like to, if there is a presentation to us, I would love for there to be included, which I assume they would be, actual numbers of real students that are going from which towns, how many are, what the percentage is from each town. Yeah, that's right. I want
don't
the
want to
whole
embarrass you, but
thing.
did you look in the appendix of your warrant book?
Yes, I certainly
There was a
did.
table in there that did break some of that out.
Yes, however, the Essex Tech argued those points. So we don't know who's telling the truth. And that, like, so I feel like actual, I don't know where these numbers would come from. That can be proven? I don't know. I'm just, you know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Essex Tech argued that the numbers for, like, how
Well,
much
so
it costs to send.
I will stop with the following. The numbers that were provided to a town meeting were provided to the Essex Tech in November. We never received any feedback or comment from them on those numbers until
Okay.
they refuted those numbers publicly.
Oh,
I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I think, Steve, we have a plan in action in place to proceed, if we may. Thank you very much. Before I go on to 15, the town manager's reports, I apologize for messing up a little in the beginning. I'm not an emotional person, but today was an emotional day. And I'd like to have a moment of silence for Wayne Markey, please. Thank you. And I've asked the town manager to kind of make some comments, if he would, before he gives his report to us.
I actually intend only to essentially dedicate my report tonight to Wayne and acknowledge the enormous loss that this community suffered last week with his passing. It was a surprise. Many of us knew that he had been struggling with some health issues, but what happened recently, I think, caught everybody by surprise, and it was really a shock to the collective system. An enormous loss. There was a lovely funeral service today at the high school, put together by Lions with Nancy and his family, and it was really it was beautiful. And I think it was an embodiment of Wayne with the music and the incredible words that his daughters offered, and that former assistant town manager Diane Norris offered for the person she worked with for more than 25 years. There were many representatives from our profession from across the Commonwealth who came today to be there to celebrate Wayne's life and his passing. And personally, I met Wayne by phone before I ever came to Danvers, and he was the manager that you wanted to follow. He was an incredible manager. Wayne was Wayne. There was never going to be another Wayne, but he was always available to me every time that I reached out to him and had a question or needed to talk through an issue. But he never meddled. He never came into town hall to check in to see how things were going. He was never giving department heads advice. He was just always there for me. And I'm sure he didn't agree with everything that I did, but when I asked him for his opinion, he was happy to give it to me, and really helped me as I transitioned into this role. And it's just a huge loss. So that's really all that I have to say. And we will continue to do what we can to support the family and honor their wishes as we proceed as a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from any member of the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So as I reflected on Wayne's passing, and it was heart-wrenching for me not to be able to be at the wake of the service today. I considered Wayne to be a very close mentor in my political career and personal life. And I've known him for more than 2/3 of his professional service to the town as town manager. And we shared not only the politics of the town, he put me on the airport commission and the municipal light board, and others helped guide me as a town meeting member, helped guide me as a select board member. We also shared some other personal connections. He and I both musicians. I enjoyed talking about that. And I was always struck that we understood the Wayne we knew, and I always held him in very, very high regard. But that transcended just Danvers. If you walked with him at any of the MMA meetings, you just saw the outpouring of respect and outpouring of love for his abilities as a town administrator. I'm certain that while I couldn't be there, there must have been many, many people representing the MMA and other town officials outside our town who so respected his work and his breadth of knowledge and historic knowledge of the town workings. He'll be sorely missed, and I am deeply saddened by his passing. Thank you.
I wanted to say something too.
Yes, go
It was really a beautiful day. The stories that we heard from the daughters, you know, the love for his family, but he loved this community, and he loved the employees and everybody in here. I've had opportunity to do some networking events this week, and he's very respected. Other town managers have come up to me, you know, we're sad to hear about Wayne's passing, but we were very lucky to have him for as long as we did. And, you know, we will be there for the family all the time. That's it.
Thank you. David?
Not much to say, Dan. It's just I worked with Wayne continuously for all of his 35 or 38 years here on a regular basis. It was a wonderful friend. And to just comment upon what Maureen said, talk about great parenting. Those two daughters who took part in the memorial service today, wow. And just a further tribute to Nancy and Wayne as to what a superb job they've done and what a superb father he was. Everybody knows. He was the two greatest things about the greatest branding of Danvers is Wayne Marquis. Was from Danvers, Wayne Marquis, and the other thing is the Danvers High School Marching Band. Wayne beats them out but they're both tied for wonderful, wonderful symbols of this best part of this town and the history that we've always had. Great pal, and I miss him, and I'm glad I had a little bit of contact with him in the last couple of months. Thank you.
Matt, any comments?
Yeah, so I wasn't able to make the funeral today, but I did attend the wake last evening and spoke with a number of people, and I think the common comment was just how quickly one's health can just deteriorate so quickly, and that in retirement, I think people think that they're going to have time to kind of do all the activities that they've thought about throughout their their work career or whatever. Once they retire, they're going to travel. They're going to start new hobbies and stuff, and it really, I think, brings to light how quickly things, can change. So really live for the moment and just appreciate what you have. And I think Wayne kind of embodied that. Not only was he the consummate professional, but he was really had a family that one would be proud of. He did a great job in all areas of his life. So definitely someone to kind of strive to be like. So,
All set?
Yeah, I'm all set. Thanks.
When Wayne told the board that he was retiring at the age of 61 some 8 years ago, we were all very surprised that he was stepping down at that stage of his career. But as he told us, he had a close friend who had just passed away at the same age of 61. And I don't know if he had a premonition, but he decided that it was time for him to step back and enjoy his family, his grandchildren, and I'm happy that he was able to do that for some 8 years anyway, so will be missed forever. Now we're just gonna name something after him, so 50 years from now, somebody says, oh, I heard that name.
I thought
Wayne
about that.
Markey.
If we could dedicate something.
I think,
him, I'd
I
like
think
to-
that we're working on it.
Yeah, good.
But that's something.
Mhm.
So thank you all for your comments. Steve, anything else of items to update us on?
Just to say, I attended the second annual Juneteenth, I don't call it a celebration, it was an observance. It was festive, but it was an observance on the lawn at the library. The Human Rights and Inclusion Committee did a nice job. Dee Joko emceed that event. Jasmine Ramon offered thoughtful comments, our new Equity and Inclusion Director. A modest turnout that was larger than last year's, and I'm confident that next year's turnout will be larger yet. So I wanted to acknowledge that. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So at the beginning, we approved the minutes, and I didn't take the roll call. As I said, I was a little off my game. So we need to take a roll call vote on approval of the minutes. Maureen?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Dan, yes, thank you. We took care of that business, thank you. There are no consent calendars, so we'll move right on. At this time, fellow board members, we're going to do correspondence only. And I'm going to start. And I have a correspondence from Select Board Member Gardner Trask dated June 7th. I am requesting an executive session to discuss violation of the Select Board Code of Conduct at the recent FinCom meetings. I wish this to be on public record. Board members are expected, despite personal opinion, to support the majority vote of the board, especially when asked to represent the will of the board at the FinCom meetings. And Selectman Trask is correct. I did not support the Article 5 at the FinCom. I spoke my conscience. After reading X amount of emails, I was more confused then than I was when we sent it off to FinCom. So I did do that. Secondly, the Code of Conduct, its guidance, it's unenforceable. But more importantly, in order to go in executive session, we need a legal reason per the open meeting law, and Selectman Trask did not cite one. So Gardner, your request is denied. Correspondence, Matt?
Can I respond to that, Mr. Chairman?
And it's your turn. Right now, we're just doing correspondence.
I think the only correspondence I had was from several town meeting members concerning the Maple Square project that was approved last Tuesday night by the planning board. I think the town meeting members would like to revisit these overlay districts to maybe fine-tune them a little bit better. I think the way they were approved initially was kind of done with input that may have not been accurate. So I think it behooves us to kind of revisit these overlay districts, not only along Maple Street, but also on High Street out to the highway, to see if there's changes that that need to be made in terms of applications that come through that may not meet what the bylaw describes, and try to obtain special permits or waivers in order to kind of push their project through. So hopefully that's something that the select board could support, perhaps with working with the town staff to see if there's areas that need to be rewritten or maybe expanded upon.
I think you're right. Matt, anytime we put through these changes, when you reflect on it, you see things that you could have said differently, tweaked or something. So I'm sure that planning will do that as we go forwards. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay.
David, any correspondence?
No, none, Dan, thank you.
Maureen?
None, Dan, thank you.
Gardner, correspondence?
I'd like to respond to the correspondence you read earlier, and I am going to again request that the town manager or that we schedule within the next 2 weeks in executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, to quote, discuss conduct and complaints against a public official. That is a legitimate reason to do so. I had made this internal request to the select board chair and you refused it. Had you asked me for this exacting language, I could have provided it then. And I believe that the ability to call for an executive session should be afforded to any select board member not controlled by the position of chair, especially if the issues to be discussed involves that person in that position.
Thank you. We'll move on to new business and previous new business updates. Maureen?
Okay, a couple of things. The rail trail, they're gonna be doing some mowing, well, the electric division with the vegetation, the week of June 25th. They're always looking for volunteers to be out there. They want people to remind people about the e-bike speeding. You know, people are speeding on the rail trail, so be careful with that. They're always looking for fundraising, the mile markers. If anybody wants to donate to the mile markers, get in charge of Larry Perot or even Paul McNulty or Matt. They can help out, Mark Jones. They are having, I guess it's been, Matt, what, 10 years now, the rail trail? They're having a little gathering from 9 to 12 on June 25th at their storage shed, Hobart Street parking lot. That group just does an unbelievable job. I mean, we're lucky to have the rail trail. I was at a breakfast meeting with the mayors last week and at the Lynn Chamber of Commerce, and they're talking about rail trails too there. So that was pretty interesting. The Danvers Housing Authority continues to do a terrific job with their capital improvements. They're really on budget all the time with their spending. COVID numbers, as we know, have risen a little bit. And, you know, Cindy Dunn does a great job giving the residents masks or any services they need. So that's just a great organization. And that's about it, Dan, for right now. Thank you.
Matt?
Just today's the first day of summer. Just wish everyone a wonderful and safe summer. That's all I have.
Thank you. David?
Thank you, Dan. Steve mentioned that Juneteenth was wonderful, a little cool. Glad I brought my coat. Wonderful bunch of people, men, women, children, different sizes, shapes, colors, and varieties. A wonderful thing to be happening. And the Danvers Inclusion and Human Rights Committee continues to do a marvelous job. I think we've already talked about the little pride event on the lawn of the library. Did we talk about that at the last meeting, Dan? I don't remember.
We did.
Yeah, but that was also very, for me and for many, many, many people, very uplifting, beautifully done, well-attended, and so that's about all I have to report. And thank you all for supporting, as you do, and it means a great deal to that committee to have the support of this board.
Thank you. Gardner?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Thank you. This Thursday evening, I'll be at Endicott Park for the rededication and saying a few words on behalf of the town. On Saturday, June 25th, I was told there's no speakers, so I won't be making remarks at that time. And other than that, if you see a veteran, say thank you to them for their service. And if there's no other business to come before the board, the meeting is adjourned.